What's up guys, Calcris back, another Dragon Ball video today, and today we're going to be going over the state of green going into set 16. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, let me know what you guys think of the video, hit the bell for all the notifications, all that fun stuff there, right? So before we get into the green decks and kind of what green is going to be going, kind of look like going into set 16, the first thing we need to talk about is the big green elephant that was removed from the room, finally, which was Cell Surge. This leader obviously was incredibly broken. Broken, just very, very good leader, right? I think what did make it broken though was the fact that it was the hand instruction leader. So the idea was to, take out cards, anyways, but also that this leader did not have to attack to actually gain advantage, right? Yes, the deck didn't really draw a ton of cards, but the fact that the deck was able to search out literally any card in its deck, and then discard, there was, what, 4 cards that it ran? Like 4 different cards that you can actually pitch from the hand, which all had drop area effects, right? It's a little broken, right? So if you're a leader that can't self-awaken, you lose. That also just kind of makes, game design very, very odd, right? And also, since just green was in just a bad spot as it was, for you to have a leader like this that basically stopped any green growth, because no other green leader, like green just hasn't been very good, but then you take all the good hand destruction card and just throw it into this deck, it was a little bad. I think hand destruction can be made healthy. I think it can be made healthy, and maybe we'll get on the right track eventually. But right now, it's good that this leader is gone, so that way the non-hand destruction green decks can hopefully thrive, or at least thrive a little bit more. Maybe actually make their way up in the top cuts in these big events. So the 3 leaders that I think going into set 16 that are prominent. And probably the best suited to actually be good leaders. We have Broly, Evil Unleashed, Gotenks, and King Cold. Arguably, I would say the 3 best green leaders. I think outside of this, the pool of good green leaders, quote-unquote leaders, the actual leaders themselves, is pretty low. I don't think many green leaders actually function very well at all right now in just the current state of the game. Green has probably been the bottom tier color for a while, unfortunately, just because, like I said, with Cell Surge being so powerful, but also there wasn't really any other green decks that was able to make it up except for these 3 leaders, right? Broly, incredibly powerful leader. We'll go over it in the deck profile itself. My favorite out of these 3 would definitely be King Cold. King Cold has a very good matchup against Yellow, has self-awakening tools, and has a ton of, whether it's board clear, unison control, a pretty strong deflect boss monster, just a lot of really good cards in the deck. Unless it's going up against a super heavy control deck, this deck can squeeze out wins against almost every other color. And we'll kind of go over what the deck list will look like. But first, we're going to go over which is the first one's going to be Broly, I believe. Right, decides to load on here. There we go. So Broly here. I don't think that, did I get my transition? There we go. Didn't get the cool transition there. So Broly, you guys have seen this list if you guys have watched some of my videos before. Not the Gotenks list. You guys have seen this Broly list if you guys have watched some of my videos before. This is the kind of the mix of the Universe 6 stuff. Obviously, there's the standard. You can probably just take all the Cell Surge stuff and just put it in Broly, and the deck's going to run pretty close to what Cell Surge was. Obviously, a little bit different because this leader has to attack. But same concept, similarities, none, so that's pretty much kind of how the Broly will work. I do like the Broly because you are able to just KO stuff, right? And just being able to just flat out just KO a battle card is very, very powerful. If you play more of the chain cards, you can really, at least change the consistency of it. But really, you just got to see one chain. You got to see the 4-drop and the 7-drop. You're good, right? Once you get those cards, you can just start killing your guys and fly up the chain. And having that 7-drop on board for at least one turn definitely does change the game, changes the aspect of the game for sure. Next is going to be Gotenks, and Gotenks is very interesting. I really, really like Gotenks. I think, I think King Cold's probably my favorite, but I think this variation of Gotenks is actually going to, I feel like, do a very good job in the meta. One of the big things is that this is one of the first decks to have unison removal, right? This deck there's the other Gotenks that we don't run in the main deck in this build that takes off 2 markers, I think, and has deflect. This paired with your leader being able to take off a marker, you can really remove unisons without having to attack, which is very, very powerful, right? Not to mention you have one of the most powerful boss monsters in the game, which is Grim Reaper of Justice, being with a unison on board, essentially a draw 3, pop something, and then you have a 25k dual attacker with deflect. Like, that's really, really powerful. This deck, some small changes here. We have one of the 5-drop Kaiokens that you can evolve on top of. Give me a little pointer here. You can evolve on top of, where's he at? Spirit Bomb Goku here. So you play him out for 1, and then he takes a marker off of unison, and then you can play this guy on top of him. And you have this really, really gigantic dual attack, double strike guy, right? You have the Goku here, which whenever you KO something, when one of your battle cards KO something, you play this guy. So if you're, I think it's during the attack phase, right? So then you tap one green, play this, and then you have a 20k double strike on board. And we also have one of the new hits, just kind of being used as a defensive card. This card here is gonna be very good. You're just gonna be able to stick 1, and then your opponent's gonna have to get rid of it. They don't have barrier removal. It'll be very, very hard to get through this deck because you have dormant and a lot of combo power and your opponent can't attack battle cards, right? So that's also becomes very, very irritating. So like I said, I think this deck is very powerful. I think Gotenks will probably be the most, and I'm talking about main events, not local events, because in the grand scheme of things, like when it comes to the statistics of the meta, most locals don't really make up for what that is. So if your locals plays a lot of green, and that's all they play, majority of the time you're not going to see a ton of green at regionals and these other like online events. Not everyone's going to be playing green, right? So I think if we do see green, though, I think we're going to see Gotenks. Probably King Cold is probably the main 2, but I do think we're going to see a lot of Gotenks, I think, because of just how solid the Gotenks engine is. It makes the deck very, very fluid, and I don't think it has too many weaknesses, honestly. Now that Icarus is gone, I think this deck is kind of flourish a little bit more, so we'll see. Last one is obviously going to be King Cold, and I think this list has probably been the same since the deck's actually been released, with some maybe small changes here and there with maybe a few cards, but the consistency of this deck is phenomenal. I don't think it really needs to be changed. Just whoever pilots the deck just needs to be able to pilot it to perfection, right? And when they're actually piloting it like that, this deck is incredibly powerful. Just does a lot. This card here being probably the most either undervalued or overused card, depending on who you talk to, which is the 4-drop 20k dual attack blocker. Because a lot of decks will actually play this guy out off of obviously anticipated onslaught, right? And then being able to put out 1 or 2 of these in a few turns makes it very, very irritating, right? Just because this guy's able to put on so much pressure, you mix this with fighting its fates or your leader and your unison, it's just a lot of damage at your face, right? So now we're going to go into the new leaders, which we have 2, Universe 6 Champa and Universe 7 Beerus, which are the new decks coming out of Everyone with the Gods. And first one we're going to go over is going to be Champa. I have 2 separate deck lists here, slightly different builds. One is a straight mono green build. This is the same one that I had in my Champa video. The bottom one is a little more of an experimental one, which is going to be a blue green build. Now this deck hypothetically is kind of the same, but now as we go up the chain, we are now running the Frost 3 and 4-drop engine, which is pretty interesting. One of them has barrier, and also it's being a 20k card. When it swings, your opponent KO something and drops a card. It's very powerful, right? Mix this also with adding in a Zamasu. Now you have 2 different cards that are going to be ripping cards from your opponent's hand almost every turn, and then mixing it in with something like the King Vegeta unison, which I do believe is a very, very powerful unison. I think people now, since Dark Broly, the Dark Broly engine obviously is still good, and as powerful as it is, I don't think a lot of other decks are going to be running it unless they're running the whole, Cell Surge idea, right? But this card being the same idea as Dark Broly, a 3-drop that pluses 1 and then just either pops a card from your opponent's hand or remove something ignoring barrier. This card here is incredibly powerful for green, and I definitely think it's something that everyone should have picked up if you are playing green. If not, if green does become, you know, meta at some point, this card will probably be one of the main reasons for that. And the other deck is going to be Beerus. Now, this list, both of these lists are very, very similar, as you guys can see. Just a few small changes. One of them being the Whis Unison here, running it as a 4 of, while in this one we are running the Bardock Unison. That's kind of the big difference with this. But this deck, I feel like the big thing with the Universe 7 leader is going to be running this card here, the Piccolo Assimilated Ability, which if you are playing this deck, or you're wanting to be playing this deck, you should have picked up Piccolo Assimilated Ability before. It's probably too late now if you don't have it. It's probably $20 back up to $20. But this card here is going to be the linchpin of the deck. Being able to go into a Piccolo here for free. And then when this dies, you go into this Piccolo, which then you burst 3 and you play this out. Or you play this out. And I think it's 3 or less. You also can play this guy out. Yeah, his skills are negated for the turn, but you're able to still, you know, play him out. Piccolo obviously being the best one though, and this just gives you such a powerhouse of an archetype. Makes it very, very bad, because I believe Piccolo, I'm not 100% sure, just because I can't remember the ruling on this card, but I think if you activate battle with Piccolo in combat, since it's KOing something, you can play this guy for 1 green. I think that's how that works. I may be wrong about that, but also some other cool little tech things here is this this Link Piccolo here. You can play this card off of the leader effect, and then this searches out a Gohan Adolescence, which your super combo here is the Son Gohan Adolescence. You actually can play this out for free, and then search out your super combo, and now you have a super combo live. It's pretty powerful, right? So just two cool little Beerus decks that I do think are pretty powerful. I definitely think Champa's the better leader, but I think this should be experimented with. I would love to see people experiment with this deck, because I do think it has some pretty cool implications to it. And now we're going to get into some of the green cards that I think you guys should pick up going into set 16. These are cards that are not SRs. I don't think a lot of them are SRs. But these are just cards you may not have thought of when you first were looking at the set to pick up as green staples. So the first one, and unfortunately this is not out yet, but I did want to make a note about this because this is going to be out in the it's going to be a Cell deck, we're assuming, but it's going to be the Cell expert deck. And I'm showing these two cards because I want to point out that this leader will probably end up being the best green leader in the format when it comes out. Now, I'm not basing this off of any information that I know. I'm just telling you, I think this deck is going to be probably the best green deck in the format. We'll revisit it once it actually gets announced. But just saying, I think it's going to be good. These are two of the cards that have been announced. You guys can look at these cards and see how powerful they actually are already. So just be prepared. I think we're going to be getting a really, really powerful Cell leader, and I'm a little terrified because I'm really tired of seeing Cell leaders. really, really am. So the first official card from the set is going to be Hit to Battle Universe 7. This is a double strike barrier. When this card is played, draw one, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. And if you activate main for 2, if your leader's a Champa and you have 3 more energy, no battle cards in play, play this card from your energy. Play this card from your hand for 2 energy. Now this is Green's version, specifically Green Champa's version of Yellow Turles, which we know how powerful Turles is in those Yellow Saiyan decks. This is the same idea, except this card has barrier. You play them out for 2. You can't obviously play another one on the board. You can't have any other battle cards on board, but being able to play them out for 2 to KO something and draw a card. Now I have a 20k double strike barrier. It's really, really powerful. This is something that I think every Champa player should have 4 of them already. Like ready, just set aside in your Champa deck that you should be using going forward, just because this is going to be one of your powerhouse cards that you can play on turn 3. Next card is going to be Referee in Introducing the Fighters. Now this card is very cool. I was looking at it at first and I thought, all right, so why is this card good, right? So the effect, you play it for 1, right? The effect isn't great because you have to actually play the card first. So for 1 energy, if your leader's green, Beerus, or Champa, and you place a card in your owner's dropper, you choose one. You either activate the extra card from the deck, the field spell that you play out, Or if your opponent has no battle cards in play, your opponent looks at you look at your opponent's hand, and you play a battle card 3 or less in your opponent's battle area. What's cool about that is you can it just gives you hand advantage, right? It's essentially it's an extra step for a Broly Crown of Retribution, in a sense, right? Your opponent has to have no battle cards in play, so you can do this turn 1, just look at your opponent's hand. But also you can play out your field spell, which if you do run the field spell does give you some interesting defensive tools. And this is just a cool card that you can do that with, right? Is this card amazing? No, it's not a staple, other than in Green, Beerus, and Champa, right? But so it's just a cool card to check out. I think this is something that you can tech in as a 2 of maybe, and then just use this in those weird situations to either look at your opponent's hand, or end up playing a field spell out very, very early. And last card I believe is going to be Kaioken. So this card says if your leader is green and this card is in your combo area, when one of your green cards attacks and KOs an opponent's battle card. So yeah, so technically what you can do is you can actually swing with Piccolo's Simulated Ability, and then in the combo step you can combo this card and then activate battle, kill something, right? And then draw a card off Piccolo, and then since the battle's over, you can then tap 1 green and play this card out. That's what I thought it was. So yeah, you can actually KO something. You can actually just KO the card that you're attacking, and then you play this guy out for 1, and then the battle ends, so there's no combo step for your opponent. Very interesting little tech, right? When this card attacks, your opponent, you either choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, or your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and discards it. And this is a 20k double strike. I know this is an SR, but I did want to point out with this SR, because the SRs that I will pick will have very good reasons for it. This one in particular is there is no SPR print to this card at all. And Bandai already announced this way before set 16 was announced, I believe. I think it was in the, maybe it was in the reveal video. But they talked about SRs were going to have smaller ratios going into the set. And I don't know if that's going to be a concurrent thing throughout the rest of the block, but in this set particularly, there's going to be less SRs and more SPRs. Since this card did not have an SPR treatment, this card is going to be very hard to get. And this card is very, very good. So if you are a green player, I tell you now, you're going to want to pick up a playset of this. This card could easily be $20. If green ends up doing very well, this could be a situation like Dormant, where Dormant was $25, $35, $40. If you guys remember Charismatic Villain, the SR version of Charismatic Villain was like $25, $30 for a very, very long time. And this card is going to fit, I feel, right in that same boat. And we're going to see a very powerful card here. So, like I said, if you guys are green players, pick up this card before, whatever you can do on pre-release, or pick it up at your pre-release events. Hopefully, if people are trading cards, if people still do that, you know, get you a set of this card and then sit on it, because this card's going to be worth some money at some point. But that's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the green cards coming out. What cards are you excited about? What deck are you excited about? Just let me know down below so we can have a conversation about it. And thank you guys as always for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video.